Test 1, 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's 4:30. I'll turn it over to Mr. Manager to sort of go over the agenda and talk about the next three items. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I should say good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. We have three work session presentations for you this afternoon. The first is the HRSD Sustainable Water Initiative for Tomorrow, or SWIFT. I had the pleasure of being a part of the groundbreaking activities for this project, and as I'm sure all of you know and you've heard, this is a very exciting and dynamic project. And so this afternoon we have two individuals who will present the project to you. We have Jay Burness, who's the General Manager. We also have Laura Zorovinsky, who is the Chief of Design and Construction. So they're here to share with you their excitement about this project and answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
afternoon, Mr. Mayor and council members. Lauren and I are really happy to be here with y'all to talk about our SWIFT program. I'm going to start things off. As you know, HRSD, we were created in 1940 as the regional wastewater utility for Hampton roads. So we're a political subdivision, which means we're a quasi-state agency. We serve 1.9 million people. That makes us the 14th largest wastewater utility in the country. And we've got a governor-appointed commission. We have 8 large plants, 6 smaller plants. 2 of our large plants are located in Newport News. We added this up this week, and we were really surprised by how much we're spending in Newport News. We're spending $1 billion on wastewater infrastructure in Newport News. That's treatment plants, pump stations, and pipelines. And as you can imagine, that economic ripple effect that happens throughout the city. And we're going to talk a little bit about the construction that's going on there today.
They can't hear you in the back.
Oh, okay.
Speak in the mic. Is it on?
Green's go. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that. All right. So $1 billion, right? Okay. So what we're here to talk about is our SWIFT project. Right now, we have an advanced water treatment process for our wastewater, but we're discharging that highly treated effluent into the bay. What we're planning to do is literally build a separate advanced water treatment plant on the existing wastewater plant site, run that effluent through this process, this multi-barrier process, purify that water to drinking water quality, and pump that into our Potomac aquifer. And by doing that, it has so many benefits. The first of which is a significant reduction in nutrients. The second is a sustainable groundwater supply. As you can imagine in this image, 20% of the folks in Eastern Virginia rely on groundwater as their primary source of water. So you create this sustainable water supply. But also it has the potential to reduce land subsidence, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But also protect our aquifer from saltwater contamination. Once you have saltwater contamination into the aquifer, it's potentially irreversible. So what we're dealing with here in coastal Virginia are 2 primary regulatory drivers. The first one being the Clean Water Act, and that's for sanitary sewer overflows in that picture on the right. I don't think that's from Google. That's not anywhere around here. But also the Chesapeake Bay restoration, and specifically for nutrient reduction. So if you're familiar with the TMDL, that's what we're talking about. So, a few months ago, we said, well, what if the region didn't collaborate? What if we didn't have the SWIFT project? How much would it cost us to comply with the Clean Water Act and the Chesapeake Bay TMDL? And what we added up was $7.8 billion to comply with those 2 regulations. But what we were able to do is work with the EPA. They have this framework called the Integrated Planning Framework. They created it in 2012. And what they realized was that communities don't have unlimited funding to fund these environmental projects. And so this framework allows communities to prioritize what's more important for their community. But what it requires is a one water mindset. You can't think of wastewater in a silo. You can't think of drinking water and stormwater all in different silos. You got to think about it as a system. And that's what we've been able to do. And so as a region, we all collaborated, we innovated and came up with this SWIFT project. And so what we found is the compliance cost of no collaboration is $7.8 billion. But our integrated plan is $2.8 billion. So what we've come up with saves our region $5 billion. And it's because our SWIFT program, our integrated plan, is a 2-for-1. It essentially has a dual compliance. It complies with both the Clean Water Act and the Chesapeake Bay nutrient reduction. And so that's how we're saving the region $5 billion. So talk specifically about where that $5 billion of savings comes from. Localities like Newport News, they were required to do these very expensive stormwater retrofits by 2025. And you can see in Newport News, and these are 2017 dollars, was going to have to spend $224 million on these stormwater retrofits. And so because HRSD with this SWIFT program and our integrated plan, we are going to overperform, meaning we're going to reduce more nutrients than we need. And what happens, that generates credits. And so those credits we're trading with these localities. That's what these locality trading agreements are that all the localities signed in 2017. But we're trading that to you for no cost because our ratepayers are your citizens. So it doesn't make sense. We're regionally minded for us to charge localities for these credits. And so that's where some of this savings comes from. But this really highlights the overperformance with this program. So if you compare 2021 to 2028 projected nutrients for nitrogen and phosphorus, over a 70% decline in nitrogen and over a 50% decline in phosphorus. And because of that overperformance, that's where those credits are generated. But also, I talked about the sustainable groundwater supply. So one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that our aquifer is a confined aquifer. So that means when it rains, it doesn't get naturally recharged. And so what's happening is we're just mining water out of the ground. And what the graph on the left is showing you, that deep red, that's where the significant groundwater withdrawals are occurring. And what that map on the right is the modeling that shows by pumping water into the aquifer, a lot of that red goes away. That's going to reverse decades of declines. And so what's happening is it's the double whammy. So as the groundwater starts to go down, those clay layers compact. And that's causing all of Eastern Virginia to sink. So you've got sea level rising, we are sinking. And so NOAA estimates that 1/3 of sea level rise in Hampton Roads is due to us sinking, due to that land subsidence. And by pumping water back into the Potomac aquifer, recharging that aquifer, that has the potential to slow or stop this land subsidence. So again, this project has multiple benefits. And so I really want to highlight, and this is how I presented it to the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, this is a really regional collaboration success story. And at HRSD, we are always researching ways to lower costs to keep our waterways clean. And that's one of the takeaways for this presentation, and why I want to highlight this other technology. I love that sign coming in here, Newport News, built on breakthroughs, because this is a breakthrough. So this is a totally different process. HRSD patented this process called partial denitrification anammox. The first plant in the world to use this technology is in York County. The second one will be at our James River plant in Newport News. And so how impactful it is at our York River plant, it uses 80% less chemicals, 50% less power. That saves us $1 million a year and $80 million of capital costs. So this technology has the potential to revolutionize wastewater treatment plant around the world. And it's again, the second one will be in Newport News. Just yesterday, we received the Virginia Municipal League Award for Innovation. Last year, we got the Governor's Environmental Excellence Award for this. So you'll see people from around the world coming to this treatment plant to see this technology right here in Newport News. And so I'm going to turn it over to Lauren, and she's going to talk more details about the construction that's going on at Riverview Farm Park.
All right. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and city staff. As Jay mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about the innovation that's happening with the SWIFT program. And so while water reuse is happening across the country and across the globe, what we're excited about here is the fact that the SWIFT facility at the James River Treatment Plant will be the first of its kind, taking ozone and biofiltration together. You can see them in the middle of this process flow here, and creating that sustainable source of groundwater that we were talking about. This is a complete process, though. We take highly treated wastewater and you go through multiple treatment barriers with continuous online monitoring. So wastewater treatment, we typically monitor over a day's compliance, a year's compliance, sometime a month compliance. We'll have online monitoring, so it's at a 15-minute continuous confirmation that this treatment process continues to do what we know it's capable of doing. And that's creating SWIFT water, which meets drinking water standards and is compatible with the Potomac aquifer. And so we also conduct a lot of research where we've talked about, from a planning perspective, that one water approach where we're looking at stormwater, wastewater, and no longer holding them in silos. Our research approach is doing the same thing. We're taking our decades of wastewater treatment experience and now applying it to water reuse technologies and drinking water technologies, while we continue to maintain our role as a wastewater treatment entity. And so I encourage you all to visit our SWIFT Research Center. At our SWIFT Research Center, we continue to innovate on how we're meeting drinking water quality standards from wastewater. And one of the things that we're most excited about is a novel approach, so a brand new approach to removing a really difficult chemical from drinking water and from wastewater. And we're developing that at our research center. We're going to apply it here in Newport News and be one of the first full-scale locations to be able to do that pretty much anywhere. This is brand new. We have a graduate student who's working on her PhD that has developed this approach. So we're excited about the innovations that are happening right here in Newport News. And so we can see that innovation taking shape in a little bit more of a hard concrete fashion here, here at home in Newport News. And so the SWIFT facility buildings are starting to take shape. We're placing concrete, and you can see the vertical structures raising out of the foundations here. And there's multiple SWIFT facility buildings that are happening here in this portion of the graphic. They will have multiple treatment processes in each building. And when it's complete, we'll have the capacity to treat 16 million gallons per day of SWIFT water and be able to create that SWIFT water and recharge the Potomac Aquifer with it. Because it is a significantly large project, it said, Jay, we're investing $334 million just in the wastewater treatment processes here and being able to expand and add advanced treatment. We also have to do some work in the wastewater treatment portion of it. So you can see here, we need to keep the biomass, the workhorse of the wastewater treatment processes on site. This is a secondary clarifier. It's taken us about a year to finish this up. We will finish it in the spring of next year, and then we'll move to that next secondary clarifier, and it'll take us another year plus to continue that. So that's really the critical path of this large project. We can get, I'm going to go back, we can get all these buildings up at the same time, but we can only build one really large secondary clarifier at a time. For the scale of it, I like to try and find a person or a reasonable sized pickup truck to kind of get where we are in the scale of concrete and effort that's going into it. And on the scale of effort here, one more construction photo shows the trailer facility that's housing the construction team. They've been on site for close to 18 months already, and they have until spring of 2026, actually into the fall of 2026, to be able to complete this project. So they've committed a lot of effort to be here. At the peak, they'll have over 200 people on site a day, bringing the materials that you can see laid out adjacent to, getting them all on site, putting them to place, and really committing to finish this project in a timely manner. This project also highlights the fact that we're working on our administration building. So you can see kind of the dirt area off to the top towards the river here. That administration building is going to be our forward-facing structure on the treatment plant. So that'll be what park users will see as they're coming down here. The facility of trailers will go away, the parking will go away, all of that will be replaced, but the admin building will stay. And in that admin building, we've committed to set our conference room towards the front entrance so that it becomes a shared space that public meetings can happen from with coordination with Newport News. So at after hours or off hours when we don't have staff there, that building and facility, specifically that conference room, is available for space. The site will have parking that the public can use when they're in the facility, or in the park, and there'll be bathrooms on the outside of that building. So the public will have some beneficial use of our admin building, that front-facing structure on our treatment facility. And some of the other exciting aspects of the agreement that we've had with Newport News to be able to have a land transfer and to develop this project on site is the commitment for HRSD to build 2 miles of walking trails with about 7 boardwalks throughout that trail system. And it's exciting to be able to bring access to varied features within the park. So there's a meadow area where you can walk through, or you will be able to walk through in the future, a wooded path with some meandering. And this connection here is one of my favorite pictures that I have so far, but it's showing how the boardwalk is going to connect the park to the marina that's in Deep Creek, really connecting all of the assets that are in the area. And one of the last pieces, on a different boardwalk somewhere else, we're really bringing access to the expansive James River views that are available in the park with the construction of the trails that are here. So it's really bringing its namesake and living up to the namesake of Riverview Farm Park. And personally, I'm super excited to be able to be a part of this innovative process that also brings the public closer to the water that we're here to protect. And so we have on our website information about all of those projects. They're all under one umbrella website, hrsd.com. If you click on the construction status orange cone here, it'll take you to a map of all of our projects. Clicking on Newport News will bring the drop-down menu. As Jay mentioned, we've got a lot of work going on, but the SWIFT projects are called out right here. And just so the park users know, there's signs scattered throughout the park that actually have the QR code. So that brings them directly to the informational page. They won't have to click through all of it here. And so one of the last pieces I wanted to share with you all today is that all of the business partners, no matter where they're working on a SWIFT program project, if they've been selected for a project, they have to make a community commitment plan. We don't tell them how they have to do it. We let them decide what works for their business model and what they do in the areas that they're working. But I have to say that the James River team that's working on that large construction project is probably one of the best teams that I've worked with and the most active. They've done over 35 different activities, providing over 1,200 hours of volunteer hours over the last 2.5 years, and donated about a little closer to $73,000. And that spans a whole different types of activities. They've handed out 2 $3,000 scholarships to Newport News students. They've worked to donate money in the food bank. They've even picked up trash around the park in Riverview Farm Park as an activity on a Saturday when they didn't have to be there lifting pipe or putting concrete in place. I've had a great opportunity to work on some of their school projects. So they've partnered with BC Charles, and so that's a picture of one of the annual STEM Day activities they've done, where we came in and worked with the 5th grade classes at BC Charles to talk about water filtration and environmental engineering. They also provided school supplies for BC Charles students and showered the teachers this year on the first day of school with some gifts and treats and things to just brighten up their day on the way in. And at Menchville High School, the construction team pulled an engineer and designer from a different project on site and brought them in and asked Menchville, what do you need? What type of things that you need? And they brought up the idea of revitalizing the courtyard that's in Menchville High School. And so the engineering team has brought out a couple alternatives, and the construction team is looking forward to a selection and then being able to put the project team together to actually execute it. So again, a lot of really exciting technological things that are happening and a lot of really good things for the community as part of the SWIFT program here. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you for your time and attention and for Newport News' support in helping HRSD meet our promise, which is to treat wastewater, recover natural resources, and to protect public health and the environment. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. From City Council, do we have any questions?
Yeah. So, one, awesome,
Thank you.
incredibly awesome. Got some cool projects, and remind me, this is expected to be completed in 2026, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I also want to just say thank you all for, being as transparent as possible with the residents as well. I remember going to that community info session, I guess, if you will, and just being able and ready to answer any questions. But in summary, has there been any additional resident inquiries as far as potential damage to their homes? Like just a summary from this feedback, just trying to get a gauge for it.
Sure. So when we had the public open house, that was March, April, I believe, of this year. I believe it was March. Since actually before that event, there was a structural engineer that went out and talked to the specific homeowners that were concerned about their homes. The report for that had been provided to the city, I believe. We received it in April, and it was provided to the homeowners in May. I believe the city received it shortly after that. There have been no other entities that have reached out to us with those types of concerns. We still get noise and sound concerns when we try to mitigate those as best as we can, both with how we're conducting the work, the well drilling that's happening in the park. Some of those have structures around it to reduce those, but there's been no other concerns about structural issues.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Not only for your presentation, professionalism, but also the water and Newport News Water Works, which we'll have from now on. So thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Our second presentation item this afternoon is the Stormwater Master Planning and Community Rating System update. And so what some of you hopefully will get a better appreciation for is how this work is actually generating a savings for Newport News residents in terms of their flood insurance. And so this is extremely important work. We've had a very capable team putting together the plan and the community rating system, and so this is an opportunity for us to provide you with an update on this work this afternoon. And so we have with us Kathy Engel, who is our engineer supervisor, and she will present the project to you.
Oops, find the control. There we go. Yes, my name is Kathy Engel. I'm currently acting Chief of Civil Design in our engineering department. The two things I'm going to talk about today, they all really go together, is a stormwater master planning effort that we're doing and our community rating system work that we have been doing for several years and finally entered the program and what we're doing to improve on our rating. Just in summary, several years, 2 or 3 years ago, we decided that we needed to update our stormwater master plans and our floodplain plan, and then we wanted to develop a resilience plan. And we decided our old ones were about 20 years old, and they were very boilerplate. And so we decided we really wanted to do a very large, comprehensive effort to really come up with some plans that were very Newport News focused, very watershed focused, and so we came up with a very elaborate scope. We went after full grant money for it, and we got $4.9 million from the state out of the Community Preparedness Fund, Flood Preparedness Fund. And so we were able to do everything we wanted to do because of that grant. And so underneath that, this community rating system, the city entered in April of 2022 as a Class 7. And with that, as a Class 7, we get a 15% discount. It's based on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being no discount, 1 being, I think, 50% discount on flood insurance. And so through the stormwater master planning effort, a lot of what we are doing is going to help us to, it's a point system, to get more points, to lower that class, and then continue to get a discount on flood insurance. Today, this presentation to everyone, one of the requirements of being in the CRS or the community rating system is presenting to everyone the status of all of our goals that we have so far, and then what other plans that we're working on. Currently, our goals are in the HRPDC or the Hampton Roads Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan, and there's 20 of them, so I'm going to try and quickly go through all 20 of them and just give everybody a quick update on them. I have arranged them to similar goals so that you may see like the goals out of order, but we'll get to all 20. Real quick, goal number 11 was our stormwater master planning effort. This, the hazard mitigation plan, the regional one, was updated last year and I think adopted by the city back in the fall. And so these are our current goals that we have. The stormwater master plan, as I said, we are doing 3 separate plans, but they all go together. And with this effort, we're one of the first localities that's done such a large effort to do the stormwater master planning, floodplain master planning, and climate change and resilience master planning together, because they really do interact with each other. And a lot of other localities are starting to do that also now. So we were the first to come up with this idea, and others are seeing the benefit of it. We've really worked very hard to include the public in this process. We had 3 public meetings in July, and we've had a lot of stakeholder meetings where brought in anybody who had any kind of stake in the city, pastor of a church down in the southeast community, someone from Christopher Newport, people who ran charity groups, everybody and anybody we could think who had some kind of stake in Newport News. And we've been also doing websites, media campaigns, surveys. We're trying to really use every aspect to get the community's involvement and what they want to see. One of the things that came out of that is the community really does want to be very involved, and they do think that stormwater management and adapting for climate change are very important for the city to focus on. And so a lot of what we're doing, there's 98 different tasks under the master planning effort. A lot of them are just trying to do things, like I said, specific for the city. maybe come up with things that will, provide like a park during the day, and if there was a major storm, storage, flood storage, and trying to really come up with a lot of different stuff. We are also looking at coming up with programs that we could possibly have grants or bring in grant money to allow citizens to make changes to their own properties, and help with, the city's resilience at the same time. We have a floodplain CRS and resilience coordinator, someone that's going to really focus on this effort. They start Monday, so that very excited about that. So it's a really large effort. It's a 3-year effort. We're obviously here in it started about last summer, and so we're here. We've had the public meetings. We have a community advisory group that's been, FEMA has certain stipulations as far as what you have a community group help us with. And so that group has been, some from the city and a lot from the community. We had a huge interest in being on this committee. Over 40 people, and we only could take like 15, but community is very excited about it. The floodplain management plan will come out probably by the end of the year or early spring, and then that will have to come to you guys to review and approve. And then the other 2 plans, there's a lot more with those, the climate change and resilience, and then the overall stormwater master plan. Those will be another year and a half out from that. Okay, so going into the national flood insurance, and this is where the CRS comes in. Like I already said, we entered last April of 22 as a Class 7. There's a lot of effort. Even this presentation that I'm doing right now will get points for this, and that will help us to improve that class. The local area, we have 2 localities that are 5s. It's a lot of work. The more further down you go, the more work it is, and we're doing quite a bit with this master planning effort. Goal number 2 is just to continue our floodplain assistance program that was started in 1999, and it was as an effort to have the city provide, like for someone who lives in a repetitive loss area and their property is constantly being flooded, and so therefore it's very difficult for them to sell that property. And so the city offered this as a way for people to sell and get out, and then we return things back to green space. To date, we've purchased 80 properties, 15.4 acres. So far, we've spent $4.4 million total since 1999. 3.8 of that is city money. We're the only city that I know of, or that anybody knows of, that actually is putting some of their own money towards this effort. So like I said, a lot of localities have commented on that's very impressive, and they appreciate the city's, desire to help. 9 is public outreach, and I've talked about that already. We've been doing quite a bit of public outreach with this effort. There's 3 reports that I'll quickly run through that we've been doing as part of our improvement of the CRS, and this is also helping the city to be better at mitigating flooding and helping citizens. And we've done an analysis of the repetitive loss properties. There are 122 right now that FEMA has documented. You can see all the ones scattered all around. There's only 1 or 2 properties in each of those areas, and then the 2 down on the bottom is Newmarket Creek and Salters Creek. That's where about 70% of our repetitive loss properties are. And so with this analysis that we're doing, we're going to hopefully identify these areas where there is repetitive loss, and then work on mitigation to handle and to reduce and remove these properties from the repetitive loss list. Along with that was an analysis of flood insurance. There are 1,426 policies in the city. Amazingly, only 30% of those, I have to do the math there. A low percentage are actually people who live in the 100-year FEMA mapped floodplain, which this is, from what I understand, normal across the country, and that was very surprising to me. So it shows that out of the 987 properties that are in our special flood hazard, or which is the 100-year mapped floodplain by FEMA, only 37% are insured. So the idea is that we really want to try and promote and explain the benefits of flood insurance, because it really does help people recover quicker following a disaster. And then the last plan that we've been working on is a natural functions plan. This is essentially where they've identified, as you can see here, different potential properties that maybe have threatened and endangered species or just have tremendous conservation benefit. And so we're working on a priority ranking to try and see which ones of these we might want to continue to pursue as far as buying them and keeping them natural. All right, goal number 3 is essentially getting all of our critical facilities, and we've been identifying what facilities are in critical areas or in special flood hazard areas now, and what ones are going to be in the special flood hazard as sea level rise, expands throughout the years. And we've been doing a lot of work of raising wastewater pump stations, addressing, different critical needs that these lifelines could be maintained during an emergency or quickly recover following an emergency, so that you're not having no wastewater, no water, no electricity. We're trying to work on trying to identify that now. The forest management one, that is a fire prevention one, that goal number 8, and obviously that is an ongoing one. We're working on that. We've got these watershed studies that we are doing. With the Newmarket Creek one, we have hired the engineer, and we're getting ready to go into the design of that, or the modeling and computer modeling of that. We are also applying for a grant to fund 90% of this, that we should actually goes in sometime in the next week or two. And as I said earlier, Newmarket Creek is an area that is experiencing quite a bit of flooding. And then the drainage system maintenance, that's kind of self-explanatory. We do need to keep our systems maintained and clean so they can operate the way they were designed and they have the capacity needed during a storm. Goal number 16 is our Stony Run analysis. We've done the modeling and the analysis. This is the Colony Pines in the Windsor Great Park area. I know most people, it was in 2020, August of 2020 was the last time they had severe flooding in those neighborhoods. It's not the first time. They have it succeeding. This one is identified 6 to 8 projects, very large-scale projects. This is going to take a significant amount of money, and we are looking at we talked with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and they're helping us figure out what grants are the best ones to go after to help fund that. And Salters Creek, that design has also been complete. Projects have been identified, and we're getting ready to start the first one, and then we'll work on prioritizing the other projects in that area. Real quick, dams, both Waterworks, Harwood Mill Dam, and the Lions Bridge Dam are both going through some major improvements. A lot of these are very old dams built back before there were safety standards and stuff, and so a lot of this is to bring both of these dams into compliance with the state. And they're both, like I said, starting construction right now.
What's the timeline for goal 12?
Let me go back, sorry. Lions Bridge Dam, the pre-construction meeting is next week. And so hopefully we talked with the contractor last week. They are looking at what the lead time is on materials. And so it should start hopefully by the end of the year, beginning of next year, depending upon what the lead time is on materials, because there's a significant amount of materials that they need to get. But they have been talking with the vendors and everything for it. So yes, it is starting.
And how long does it usually take?
We've got a year scheduled. I don't think it'll take quite a year, but it is a year. But we do intend on maintaining traffic and pedestrian access as much as possible it's been stressed, and the contractor is aware of that.
Thank you.
Okay. Marshall Ridley, I know everyone knows about Marshall Ridley. This is just from the stormwater side. Back before, it was a lot of old pipes that were all starting to fail severely, and so it ended up being rolled into the Marshall Ridley project, and now we'll go through a storm system that used to just direct discharge out into the water, and so now it will go through a series of BMPs. It'll have water quality and it'll have flood control built as part of this project for all of that area and the area upstream of it. So that's a tremendous help there as far as stormwater quality and quantity. And then here, these are projects that we've got. Goal number 4 is future. Basically, the wastewater pump station, access to it would be inaccessible during a flooding event, and so they want to, they'll come in and work on that access so that we could get it during a major storm or flooding event and access and maintain the wastewater station as needed. Chelsea Place, that one's been around for a little while. There was a lot of negotiation with CSX that has delayed this, but we will be boring under CSX. There currently is a pipe under CSX that outfalls for the whole Chelsea neighborhood. The current outfall is inadequate, and so we're going to be putting in a larger pipe system under the CSX right away and outfalling that. Nicewood area, that's a neighborhood that's experiencing a lot of flooding. It's a lot of pipes that were put in a long time ago under different regulations. They're slightly under capacity. And so that one is coming in. The Governor's Drive, stream restoration and BMP, we are actually coordinating with the HRSD SWIFT project because we are going to be working on the Flax Mill Creek that the HRSD force main runs along, and it's with erosion and everything else, it's continuing to be exposed, and so we're doing a stream restoration project as part of that. The James River shoreline, that's what the picture is there. Major erosion and failure of that slope, and if you keep coming back, you're going to start hitting utilities and you're going to start hitting the road that for all those houses along there. That's a joint effort with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They're doing the design and construction, and they pay 65%, we pay 35%. Christopher Shores, the neighborhood that's right over here, it outfalls directly to the water out here, and it has very limited storm system in it, and so this is going to improve the storm system in there and help them deal with flooding and get water off the roads. And then the last one, Deep Creek shoreline, that's the marina. There was one of the shorelines along beside the docks and everything was in major erosion occurring, and that has been stabilized. So, yes?
So with the James River shoreline stabilization, the picture here, you're saying that if it continues to erode, it's going to wear away. So just an idea of what the solutions could be, is there something that you could tell me that they'll be able to add here to make it stronger, or however it's
What they're doing is they've already tentatively, the Corps has tentatively come up with a design, and it's going to pretty much, like right now it's a very steep slope. They're going to lay back the slope and go way out. There'll be a riprap toe, and then the slope will be much more gradual going down into the shoreline, and so it will not have that steep banks, and it'll be also made of material that's not as erosive. Yeah, it's not as easily eroded as what you have here now. So yeah. This is on the other side of Government Ditch. So on the other side is Huntington Park, and so yeah, they're a little bit different. Nowadays, you really can't go out and just rip-wrap something with the new living shoreline requirements and VMRC requirements. So this is going to be a natural slope with the rip-wrap toe, but most of that will be pretty low in the water, buried in the water.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions at this time?
Nope.
Oh, it's a
That's
lot of good work
exciting.
that you got
It's a
going
lot
on.
going on.
Yeah,
Very,
it is.
very good.
Just a little, but they're not, it's mainly down here, but in general, we're not really, no, we're almost done getting rid of that.
Thank you.
Yep, okay, thank you.
That was really good.
Our third presentation this afternoon is the Master Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. And in the past, we've spoken about the importance of connectivity in our community, as well as the importance of bicycling and pedestrian facilities. And so this afternoon, you'll have an opportunity to hear from Carolyn Passant, who's our senior planner in the planning department, and she's very pleased to be in the position of presenting to you our master bicycle and pedestrian plan. You're on.
I'm very pleased. It was a fun project, so happy to be here. So good afternoon, everyone. As Alan mentioned, I will be presenting a brief overview of this comprehensive analysis of our potential exciting bicycle and pedestrian network with bicycle and pedestrian plan. Alta Planning and Design was hired together with local engineering firm Timmins Group, and they're both nationally known for their ability to bring in active transportation ideas and work with communities to expand their networks for plans such as this. We did have a steering committee comprised of representatives from departments including engineering, transportation, sustainability, safe routes to school, development, parks and recreation, and the manager's office, as well as planning, of course, with our neighborhood revitalization coordinator and representatives from the community that included bicycle clubs and outfitters and whatnot, people that are familiar with our bicycling network so far. We began in March of 2022 with sort of an inventory of conditions and assessing those conditions. Then we ran the public engagement process and developed recommendations, design guidelines, and then drafted the plan with a lot of interaction between the steering committee, city staff, and the consultant. There are 5 main components to the plan with an introduction, with background information, and sort of an analysis of demographics, things like that that affect the plan. The network recommendations, there's policy and program guidance, and an implementation overview. And there are several appendices which contain a lot of information, including design guidelines, specific recommendations for the top priority projects, which also include some cost estimates, and the survey results from our engagement survey, an existing conditions report, and an equity analysis and a safety analysis. So we really looked at the needs of the community and how to best serve the different parts of the community. This isn't a project about just providing places for people to go on bike rides. It's about connecting the community to places so that people can get from A to B and have less dependence on their vehicles and walk as well. The vision statement was that Newport News strives to provide residents and visitors many options to bike, walk, and roll with well-designed pedestrian and bicycling facilities and interconnected streets. A well-planned and safe active transportation network improves public health, enriches the sense of community, and supports our overall quality of life. And again, that's really the goals that we're seeking, is to work with the community to improve everyone's health and welfare. In terms of our existing network, we have nearly 300 miles of sidewalk, which sounds like a lot, but it's pretty limited into sections, the older sections of the city, like Southeast, Hilton, and other parts of the city might have one sidewalk on one side of the street, but a lot of our city is really lacking in actual sidewalks. We have about 20 miles of shared use paths that are about 10 feet in width and slightly separated from the street in most cases. We also have another 20 miles of what we call side paths, and those are where a widened sidewalk exists right next to the curb. You might recognize that a lot of Jefferson has that, parts of Warwick Boulevard, where it might be about 8 foot wide, but technically the 8 foot width does not meet the definition of a shared use path, so we differentiate those two. We only have about 2 miles of existing bike lanes, and so that's a very critical need to improve the system. And the nearly 90 miles of bike routes that you might see, the little green signs, those were developed decades ago. And the plan does recommend some alterations of those signed routes that will improve that and make them more geared towards actual destinations and things like that. In terms of the community input, we had a very robust process that included open houses and pop-up events, and the online survey also had an interactive mapping tool where people could go in and say, you know, put a dot here, I live here, I need to get to here. You know, this is a center that, an employment center that a lot of people could potentially ride their bike to. So a lot of interaction with that mapping tool. And we had several workshops with the community and with the steering committee, and kind of rolled up our sleeves to be able to really look at different sectors of the city. We sort of broke down into small groups, and people worked on maps, drew lines on the paper, and we filtered all that information. The consultant worked to filter all that information into the plan that we have today. The online survey did garner about 370 responses, and just of note is that over 70% of respondents selected that I do not feel safe and I worry about getting hit by a vehicle. So there's obviously a lot of concern out there because this is a very car-centric city because of the way we're designed, no fault of our own. And so working to overcome those fears and really get people to a point where they're comfortable riding and walking to more destinations and connecting their neighborhoods is really key. In terms of the recommendations, the main element of the plan is a strategic network. And this network consists of projects that are in development, which is the red dashed line, gap projects, which are our top priority projects to make connections. And in this network, we have the existing side paths, shared use paths and side paths that I mentioned, which are the green. And some trails we have. We have some bicycle lanes, which is really just this little piece down here, and then our park areas. So the network itself would be all of these blue lines that are on here. And the plan goes into a lot of detail about what the network would actually look like. This is a graphic that shows the ease of implementation. So the red areas would be most challenging, most likely because you'd have to acquire right-of-way. The yellow is a little bit sort of medium challenging where you could work with what the right-of-way is there. The green areas are the least challenging and where you might just have to do things like restripe the street markings and things like that. So this is a way to help us prioritize and look at things that can be implemented. The top 5 priority projects that the group identified include the 27th and 28th Street buffered bike lanes, which is down in Southeast Community. Those are 2 one-way streets, a paired couplet. And what this would do would be keep a vehicular lane and keep a parking lane, but then create a bike lane on each of those streets because you have room. So instead of 2 vehicular lanes, you'd then use a buffered bike lane in one of them. The second project is the Main Street buffered bike lane. So that's between where Beach Drive comes in and sort of turns into Todd's Lane over there by Hampton, and then crosses Jefferson and goes into Hilton. And that is a very heavily trafficked area, very popular with bicyclists and pedestrians. And often, I live in that neighborhood, I often see people walking in the street with their bags from Walgreens or whatnot, and cars whipping by. There is a guardrail along one little piece of it. There's a curb. It's very dangerous. There is a sidewalk on one side that goes to Sedgwick Elementary, but the goal here would be to put in bike lanes and have 1 lane of traffic and a center turn lane to make that safer. There's also the J. Clyde Morris and Jefferson Avenue intersection improvements, and engineering is actually working on that right now. And the Denby Boulevard bicycle lanes and side path is the fifth project. There is also a secondary network identified, and that are the thinner green lines on this graphic. And that gets a little bit more into the neighborhood level and includes things like sharrows on Eastwood Drive and other streets that are used heavily by bicyclists. So it would demarcate the street that there's bicycles here. We don't have the right-of-way, perhaps, to build a shared use path, but we can use the shared lane approach as an example. And then throughout the city, there's detailed recommendations for intersection improvements, which might mean just marking the crosswalks with heavier markings, having activated pedestrian signals, creating curb ramps or wider curb ramps, things like that, as well as all of your ADA compliant intersections. And engineering, again, is already working on quite a few of these. The plan also does recommend 3 key corridor studies, which would include Warwick Boulevard between Center Avenue and Harpersville Road, and Huntington Avenue between River Road and heading downtown, and then Madison Avenue from 16th to 36th. And those are key areas that are popular routes that would help people to commute to work, to get downtown. Myself, I park my bike in Huntington Park, and I come down River Road, and then I cross over, go into Huntington Avenue, and then get on the sidewalk and head the rest of the way down. Going back's a little tricky because I don't want to mess with Warwick, as you can imagine. So I have to go on the sidewalk on Huntington in the other direction, up and down curb cuts and watching out for cars, coming off the side streets. So that little piece could be an improvement where we might take out one lane of traffic and do what we call a bicycle boulevard, where you could have bicyclists on Huntington, just that stretch between 50th and River Road, so across from North End Huntington Heights. And Madison Avenue is actually part of the Birthplace of America Trail alignment, and that would take you down to the Chesapeake Avenue bikeway. And Warwick would take you into Hilton, which we're doing the Hilton area plan right now, and looking at ways to invigorate that area and make it a nicer streetscape so there'd be more opportunity to walk to the different stores in the neighborhood, connect the neighborhoods. So throughout the plan are the sector maps, and there are a total of 10 sector maps. And these include the key recommendations. Oops, wrong button. Here we go. So for instance, this is the southeast area sector map. So the different colors on the map are for a shared use path, a separated bike lane, a bike lane with buffering, or a shared lane. And when we say shared lane, again, that's, you might have seen the little arrows with the bicycle. That's called a shared lane or sharrow, where you can bike in the street, and it's say telling cars, watch out, bikes are sharing the street with you. So these maps are all provided, and then all the notes are provided that delineate the specific recommendations. The plan also includes several appendices that really have a lot more information. They include current guidelines and based on standards from AASHTO and the Federal Highway Administration and VDOT, as well as toolboxes and design details for a variety of infrastructure. So for example, a median refuge island is something you would install in a divided highway to improve safety. Other portions of the design guidelines talk about things like bike racks and bicycle repair stations, and the recommendations note that bike racks should be included in areas where you have neighborhood shopping plazas and schools and parks, transit stations and employment centers, and part of any kind of development we have for any land use type where it's a generator of bicycle and pedestrian trips. So the plan itself is over 300 pages. It's in here. And we don't have it printed out yet, but if anyone wants to take a look at the full plan, I have this copy. We were waiting to get your input to see if we needed any adjustments to the plan. So it's a lot to take in, but I think the consultants and the community really did a great job of bringing all this information together. Newport News, as you have read, is on the map. We're known for having bicycling facilities. It's just really getting the important connections to really make our citizens feel safe, you know. We have bicyclists that get in groups of 20 and go, 30 miles an hour, but I'm not one of those. I want to get to work or go to Games Market to pick up my chicken, So it's important to really look at that, and that's what this plan is about. It's for the community. So happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Long?
So does the plan provide recommendation on timing so that we have a complete system, not just kind of piece parts along the way? Because, bringing the neighborhoods onto Jefferson Ward Boulevard is important, because those are you're going to take your
Right.
bike from that area to the commercial or your place of work or business. So is there a planning or step to actually build out this capacity?
Yeah, there's
or-
an implementation strategy in the appendices that really goes into a lot of detail about what's involved. And then that map, if you recall how I showed the red, yellow, and green, that's kind of ease of implementation. So ideally, you'd start with the green, because that just might mean restriping things or doing a little bit of work, and to get those done would be a good start. And then and then you kind of move into the more difficult ones and have more discussions with council and the powers that be about, cost of actually doing more difficult work.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
And I just wanted to comment that is good that you've been having good attendance and getting feedback from the citizens, because
Yeah.
that is so important that, you can move along with their feedback as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of
It's a
interest
great
in
job.
this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions at this time? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Carolyn. Mr. Mayor, that concludes our presentations for this afternoon.
I think next up, we have comments, ideas, and suggestions. Why don't we just start left of me with Mr. Manager and go from there?
I think that I'm going to just take this moment to provide Jan with a promotional opportunity regarding your water bottles. So he is right behind you. Jan?
So I want to thank Mayor first, and then the city council members. We have a great opportunity right now to
Use the mic
demonstrate.
so they can hear you on the screen.
Thank you. So we have a great opportunity here with Newport News Waterworks, a award-winning utility, to demonstrate the quality of the water that we are drinking and taking pride in it. So council members and Ms. Mayor, you've received a personalized water bottle, aluminum bottle, so that we would now stop seeing actually plastic water bottle, even though they are from Swift. It's a HRSD. They are actually probably regulated by DEQ, but we are also regulated by VDH, so a highly rated and regulated water. So this is a water that, I don't know if you knew this, but compared to the FDA regulations that you get in plastic bottled water, Waterworks has actually a much higher threshold to reach through EPA. So tap water is actually a much higher value and higher quality than you have in plastic bottled water. And it has the advantage of also, because of the aluminum bottle, to be environmentally friendly and not having all the discharge, to plastic bottled water. So you'll have also a second bottle that awaits you in the council chambers. And there's actually a refilling bottle that General Services just completed today. So I was very impressed. They went around and did it. It's located between the men and women's bathroom in that corridor that's there. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Manager?
No, Mr. Mayor.
City Attorney?
Just wondering if anybody besides Alan has tasted this.
I just finished it right now.
We're gonna have Councilman Long test it for council,
I've already finished it. I drank it during the session.
and we'll wait 30 minutes and then we'll drink it.
It's quite tasty.
Madam Clerk, Vice.
Do the taste. Yes, something real quick. I did see earlier today a news article in regards to, our public works and trying to make sure we're filling the position. So in the article, it said it was critical, but, I don't believe everything I see in the media, but if it is critical, I do think we should have a conversation about that and seeing whatever we can do. But that's all that I had. If you were already planning, or did you see it too? You're smiling.
Well, several people brought it to my attention.
Okay.
So we can have some conversation with you to let you know what we are doing. In many cases, I think recruitment and retention is number one for almost every local government employer. And I think tapping into existing entities in the community through pop-up events, through community-based activities, we are finding great success in doing that. There are also a number of programs, as Councilmember Long brought to my attention, that are community-based that could also benefit from kind of a direct pipeline of being able to move people quickly from either underemployment or unemployment to available positions here in the city of Newport News. So we have been making some real, I think, inroads with sort of non-traditional marketing efforts to attract people to vacancies here in the city. It's also a challenge, I think, just for the government sector and particularly local government across the board as people's preferences and interest kind of wane from some of our non-traditional opportunities that, we just have to be creative about reining in. So I'd be happy to provide you with some examples of some real successes through our Human Resources Department and other departments that I think allow you to see some of the innovation that we've been trying to generate around filling some of these vacancies. But it is a challenge.
Well, I mean, just would your assessment concur that it's critical, or is it we're still working on it? It's not at a critical level as of right now. And the only reason I'm saying that is I want to make sure that I'm doing everything at least with my responsibility on council to continue to push it, if so.
I think if you talk to individuals who perform essential roles and responsibilities for this community, if you look at the nature of the services that are required by city employees to ensure that the community stays up and running, many of these functions are indeed critical. Are we reaching a point where we're about to pivot and not be able to continue to provide the level of service and excellence that you've come to trust and depend on? I don't think we're there yet. I think there clearly are some signs that unless we continue to innovate, we want to make sure that our pay and benefits are competitive. That's another significant portion of the equation. So when we roll out the manager's recommended budget and there are provisions in it to ensure that we do remain competitive, that's also another important component of the overall compensation package that we're able to offer. But no, I don't think that. I mean, I think there are indicators. The indicators certainly reveal that we have we have some work that we need to pay attention to and continue to improve. But I'm not concerned at this point that we are suddenly going to slip under because we can't fill vacancies. It does put a stress, it does put a strain on the workforce. There's no question about it. We have people who are out there in the field doing very hard work under difficult situations and sometimes performing overtime. And that overtime function is a result of some of these indicators. So as I said, there are stressors that we have to confront and overcome. But I'm not yet concerned that we've reached a point of no return.
Thank you.
And I'll jump in, and if we could, I know we talked to HR last city council meeting, but
Report.
for the report,
Yes.
on that report with the retention rates per department, just so I can see the turnover rate. Thank you. Councilman Long.
I don't have any comments.
Got it. Councilman Neely.
Mr. City Manager, I know I maybe asked this when I first got on council. Can we still relook at the visit as far as keeping employees' retention, maybe at Christmas time, do some type of holiday retention bonus check? I know we do it we did it for the school system. See if possible we could do it for all city employees around the holidays.
So you're I think the answer is yes. We'd be happy to look at that. You're interested in some type of holiday retention bonus for existing city employees?
Yes.
Okay.
I know for the school system, we did part-time got one rate and full-time got another. And it was very grateful to get that every Christmas. Thank you, that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Vick.
I just wanted to report that, the Virginia Municipal League Conference ended today. It was very informative, a lot of great speakers, including our Congressman Bobby Scott. And I don't have a full report because it just ended today after lunch, but it was very beneficial.
Thank you. And I'll actually talk about reports on mine, so that's a perfect segue. Thank you.
Okay.
Councilman Harris. Great. I just have three things. So the first is for Mr. Manager. I know we have a lot of policies and procedures that we keep on file. I know there's been a lot of changes, personnel, et cetera. My gut tells me that we probably haven't taken a look at some of the older policies in a while. If we could just, I don't need to know like a huge report, but just a timeline of when's the last time we took a look and updated any policies and procedures. I think that would be helpful for me. Number two, so I had a chance to attend the Public-Private Partnership Conference, a mayor's conference in Atlanta last weekend. Inaugural meeting, by far one of the best things that I've been to all year. I know Florence and I are going to talk heavily next week about development and some of the things downtown. That being said, I had a talk with Mr. Manager about, I think, not only city council, but departments as well. We go to all these great events and we learn a lot of different things, and it sort of stops with that one person. And so I would like to codify some sort of lessons learned or after action. I'm sure some departments already have it, honestly, internally, but there has to be some sort of intranet or SharePoint where we can do that. And once again, it starts with the top. So if you, I'll be the first. So I'm going to finish up my report tonight or tomorrow. And by that, I mean Tiffany's going to do it. No, I'll make sure the report gets filed. But I think it will help us build our historical knowledge, whether it's development or VML, or I'd imagine, there's so many things that are happening. But if we could just have a way to codify a way that we can do lessons learned, I think that's going to help increase everyone's proficiency in whatever that they're trying to do. And I bring that up because, I had the P3 conference, but I know the Vice Mayor, I think most of council is actually going to the National League of Cities. And so, you guys are spending basically 4 days there. It's important to know, going into it, what are the key things we have to hit? What are the key meetings that have to happen? I know Clarence Anthony is a big one for you. What needs to happen? And then after action to say, we hit our goals and going forward. And the last thing, so I'll keep most of my comments about the Israel-Palestine conflict for the actual city council meeting. But I do want to say that there's going to be a rally for Israel tomorrow, prayer song held at 5:30 p.m. at the United Jewish Community of the Virginia Peninsula, located at 401 City Center Boulevard. Once again, I'll hold comments for city council, but I wanted to put that out there. I know I'll be speaking, open the opportunity for city council to come as well. That's all I have. Are there any save rounds, anything that I missed before we go into closed session? Okay. Can someone make a motion to take us into closed meeting?
I move that pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended, subsection 1, that council hold a closed meeting for the purpose of 1, a discussion, consideration, or interview of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, employment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees or employees of any public bodies, the subject of which are discussion or consideration of prospective candidate for removal or appointments to boards, commission, and evaluation of council appointees.
Second.
Is there a motion? Move second? Okay, call the
Yes.
roll, please.
Mayor Jones,
4.
Councilman Long, Councilwoman Vick,
4.
Vice Mayor Bethany,
4.
Councilman Ely,
4.
Councilman Harris.
4.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Al.
Oh, yeah, it really was.
I move that members of council certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion of which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting by the council.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please call the roll.
Mayor Jones.
4.
Councilman Long.
4.
Councilwoman Vick.
4.
Vice Mayor Bethany.
4.
Councilman Ely.
4.
Councilman Harris.
4.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Thank you.
Need a motion to ratify the
I make a motion that we ratify Alan Archer as city manager to fill the roles as,
I think just to ratify.
okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please call the roll.
Mayor
Got
Jones.
water, got water, got into it.
4.
Councilman Long.
4.
Councilwoman Vick.
4.
Vice Mayor Bethany.
4.
Councilman Ely.
4.
Councilman Harris.
4.
Motion carried, 6-0.
Do we have any other business for tonight? Okay, hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, let's cut this AC off.